Howdy, delicious people. Today I'm here to talk about X-Men, the Dark Phoenix, aka the Phoenix film, aka um the Jean Grey film, we can basically say. If anything, I had to put this out there um and did a video on it. But looking back on it, a lot of the video I kind of repetitively just said a lot of things, and there was some stuff that I talked about that was really accurate and all over the place. But it was my first reaction. But at the end of the day, the recording was so all over the place and so um, very at some points inaccurate and all over the place. So I'm gonna try and redo this whole review just because of how that thing was. And a lot of the time through a lot of the review, I kind of repetitively just kept saying certain things because at the end of the day, that was my true and honest and real and brutal reaction to this movie. So, uh, one thing that I want to make note down below, link in the description. There's you can donate to the channel if you'd like. You can donate dollar or dime. You can donate time. There's no tier system. There's no holding any content hostage. At the end of the day, it's just to say that you like something behind it instead of hitting just that like button. Anyways, let's do a non-spoiler and spoiler version of this movie, as if it'll actually matter. Because people can probably already assess how this movie did. But let me talk about it anyways, because I have talked about so many Marvel films and what have you. At the end of the day, I saw this film and my review of it. I'm going to do a non-spoiler version and then spoil it for you. With a double 5 count, and then I'll get into spoilers. Okay. Non-spoiler version. This movie compared to X-Men The Last Stand, because people are comparing it to that movie, is not as good as X-Men The Last Stand. So if anybody compares this movie to that movie, this movie was not anywhere close to that caliber of movie. Hugh Jackman wasn't in this movie at all, so it suffers by that comparison, legitimately. Uh to be brutally honest, for my first reaction to this, I really didn't know what to legitimately say because none of this movie, like, I didn't understand what I saw, and what I saw, I was just like, I don't get this. I don't get this. For real true fans of the entire franchise, basically this movie feels like a giant middle finger to this entire X-Men franchise as a whole, including the Hugh Jackman films, including the X-Men, X2, X-Men United, um, X-Men The Last Stand, Days of Future Past, which tried to help the selling of X-Men The First Class, and then basically the way that this movie ended basically forced you to have X-Men The First Class, X-Men Apocalypse, and X-Men The Dark Phoenix, this movie, just be forcibly on their own. These three movies together on their own, not even tying in at all X-Men Days of Future Past. There is absolutely no reference to Days of Future Past in this movie. There is no reference to anything that happened seemingly prior to this movie, because there is a real legitimate point that I will make. If anything, and I believe one of the Apocalypse movies or whatever, whenever in one of the early movies when Xavier has Jean Grey, he says that he does not want to control Jean. But I'll tell you in the spoilers that yeah. I don't want to control Jean. Are you sure about that? Xavier? You sure about that, Xavier? Um really, for to where I can give you the idea of how obscure this movie was. There is a person, there is an actor, or there is a character in this movie that gets hurt, and you never see him for the rest of the film. You never see him again. You never see him again. Why? Why? You should have never even had him in this movie at all then. You should have never had him in this movie at all then. Yeah. At the end of the at the end of the time, I think there was a real, true, legitimate reason why maybe a certain character was taken out of this film because of something that she ends up saying in the or something that this person ends up saying in the beginning of the film, which was kind of whoa. Uh, that's wow. Okay, wow. um, yeah. Wow. Anyways, we have a movie here that is a movie. Um, it should have been thrown away and remembered. Remember that there is X Men: The Last Stand. That is still a substantial movie that people should go back and see. Because if anything, this movie is going to ruin everything that you ever seen before in this entire franchise. It will ruin everything you've ever seen. And I, through the spoiler version, will tell you why. Uh, the X-Men, the Dark Phoenix, aka the Jean Grey movie. I wonder why this movie was dropped out of theaters. Maybe because they changed the name of the movie to the Jean Grey Experience. If anything, this movie honestly becomes a drinking game. Um, there's a number of times that a number of things happen. Even so much more so uh, than happened in the prior movie. If anything, there seems to have been a lot of scenes that seem to be milking out time for some bizarre reason. There there seems to be scenes where people are juggling around for stuff and whatever. Uh, at the end of the day, uh, there is a Batman 66 um, thing that goes on in this movie bizarrely that I will mention in the spoiler version of this. And then once you guys do see this movie, or if you guys just want to hear the spoiler parts anyways, because it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Uh, I am going to say this movie does not have a villain at all. You can fight to the tooth and nail and what have you that this movie has a villain, but it does not. And the villain that you probably think is a villain isn't even really on screen long enough to justify them being a villain in this movie. A lot of this film is so quickly cut, and there's so much stuff going on in one of the fight scenes, you can't get a comprehension of what the heck is even going on. There's so many things going on in one fight scene in this movie, if you can even call it a fight scene, because I don't know what the heck is even going on. There's so many things in this movie where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna do this because it looks cool. And it doesn't really look that cool. And it's not at all like in a progressional way from the other films. A lot of this movie feels so ridiculously under budget, it seems hilarious at points. And a lot of things, honestly, if you looked at First Class, there were changes between First Class and Days of Future Past. Then once you get to Days of Future Past, X-Men Apocalypse, these characters have a change of appearance, and then when you get to X-Men: The Dark Phoenix, these characters' appearances change again. And if you have seen these people in X-Men costumes for pictures for this movie, they really don't wear them in this movie. They really don't wear the X-Men costumes really in this movie, and it seems like the ones that they were wearing don't look like the things that ended up getting put in promo pictures and what have you. I yeah. All right. I don't know how much more I can go on with the non-spoiler thing because at the end of the day, I have so much stuff to talk about in the spoiler part of this than the non-spoiler thing because at the end of the day, this movie is is the almost unrewatchable movie I've ever seen in my life. Uh, that's truly what this movie is. No one is ever gonna go back and rewatch this, but there's some things in the spoiler version that when looking back at this, I'm like, oh yeah, like they don't have this in here, and why do they have this in here, and why do they have this there, and XYZ. So I think we have to move to the spoiler version of this movie. We have to. So I'll give you a double five. If you saw this movie and you enjoy it, I'm sorry for you. Uh One thing that I wasn't sure of, but I am sure of now, is that these actors in this movie, if you thought at all they could act, they don't act. They can't act. They can't. Whenever you give them a part where they have to act, they can't act. And nothing seems to fit right for these characters. Uh, like the Cyclops' visor, like his head gets like squished in this entire movie as if the visor was not fitted for him and should have been. It's freaking bizarre. It's bizarre. Um, but anyways, moving on to the spoiler part of this movie. The spoilers, people. The spoilers. All right. Let's bring up some things that might actually get this movie some rewatchability. Mystique does not have a tombstone. So let me get this straight. Charles Xavier, he gets a tombstone when he dies in X-Men The Last Stand. Cyclops, who you don't even know is dead in these movies, he gets a tombstone. Mystique dies, she gets a dirt burial, no tombstone, from what I saw. Wow, what a disgracing of a legendary X-Men character. No tombstone for you. Sucks to be you. Wow, what a nice thing. So that's nice. The one person that should have actually been killed in this movie, because he completely vanishes off screen anyways, does not get killed, because that would honestly explain why this character is no longer in any of the other films in the future. The Hugh Jackman films. Why is he no longer in any of the other Hugh Jackman films? I wonder. But he gets hurt in this movie and he vanishes. Vanishes? I don't know why, but he does. He vanishes. He does a lot of the heavy lifting in this movie, but then he vanishes at some point in the movie. Maybe he had Nightcrawler's power. I don't know. He vanishes and never comes back. He vanishes and never comes back. But he would have been the perfect person to kill off. Anyways, let's roll all the way back to whatever the heck the beginning of this film was. If you guys would have seen my live stream, if I would have live streamed and done commentary on this movie, I would have consistently said, "Man, this is a really bizarre choice. Man, this is man. They said that before. Man, this is really freaking weird. Why do this? This villain makes no sense. This villain makes no sense." So, right away, we have to get shot into space. You have to get shot into space. We have X-Men in space. Let's go. Let's do some space stuff. Charles is in Cerebro because he doesn't have his Batman 66 X phone with him, so he's got to go into Cerebro and talk to the astronaut people about how he can help the astronaut people, and he sends the X-Men in with absolutely no spacesuits, but then duct taping a helmet onto Nightcrawler is the best way to go. Hopefully he didn't ran out of air because yeah, he was consistently just here you go, here's a helmet, and poof, you off. Anyways, um, we have a cloud of smoke, or we have some purplishly cloud of smoke thing. Uh, the internet will call it a planet. I call it a bizarre looking cloud of purplish smoke thing. That evidently is some kind of collision going to this ship, this astronaut ship, and I'm like, wow. So this planet being attacked by this spaceship planet, and I use that loosely, is getting hit by this spaceship, but it's not really a planet. It's a purpley bluish thing of smokish looking thing. Uh, but it's a planet with an alien race on it. Bizarrely enough. But I guess since Phoenix is so overly powerful, that Nightcrawler and Quicksilver with his power usages in this actual movie, um, gets all the astronauts but one out all the ship, and they evidently don't double check to make sure that all the astronauts are out of the ship. They don't double check because Quicksilver has that kind of time. But I guess that's neither here nor there. And so, Nightcrawler, Quicksilver, get all the astronauts. They're like, yeah, good to go. But then, no, there's one person left that they weren't aware of. And it's like, well, I guess we can have Phoenix come in here and use her power and have her have more screen time. Because she's the big head honcho of this whole entire movie, I guess. Yeah, I guess we should ask Phoenix if she can do all this stuff. I mean, Jean. Oh God, I didn't hear that enough in this movie. G G G G G G G G G. Because these people don't actually use their X Men code names in this movie. You rarely ever hear somebody actually legitimately say Beast, Nightcrawler, whatever Phoenix's name is, or whatever Jean's name is, whatever Cyclops' code name is, Cyclops. Hey, Xavier, what are you? Wheels? You'll never know because they never say it. You never know because nobody ever uses any of these people's code names. So, at the end of the day, in first class, when they come up with all these code names, they never use them. They never use any of these code names, but they're there for some bizarre reason. But I guess when you probably look at it, at some of the X Men movies here and there, uh, they probably don't even use the code names in some of the other movies too. So who knows? But this was more prominent that they weren't using the code names at all. So yeah, that's great. That's great. So we have these people go into X Men gear, go out to space, and now they're left saving one more astronauto. And Phoenix is taking up a lot of screen time trying to blow up a planet because selfishly she just really hates this weird um, big old bag of smoke, purplish smoke thing that is supposedly called a planet, but I just call it some kind of atmospheric ripple of something that doesn't look at all like a planet. Anyways, they end up saving. They end up saving the last astronaut just in the nick of time in a 10-second thing, as per always. And then the spaceship and Phoenix and all the stuff is just blown up. And the alien race that is in the planet survives the onslaught of this supposed planet being blown up by this ship. Let's think about that. But then you could see later on in the films how easily these things could be possibly taken out. The alien species that has to be Wikipedia for you to understand who the heck they are, because who are they? People that really like screen time. That's who they are. Because they're like, oh, thank God, nobody else has ever put us in a movie and or show or anything. But man, these people are willing to take a risk on us? Oh, yeah, I'm going to take this for everything it's worth. And hopefully they can speedily just cut out the scene where I'm doing some alien stuff. And you know what? The computer graphics on this movie was awful. So awful. When you have Storm doing some computer graphics stuff, I think they're trying to cut her at the end of the film, but she's like, no, I want to be part of this movie because I want you to show me in worse computer graphics. Like, were they really trying to cut corners a lot in this movie for budgets and such? I don't know. I don't understand why they were trying to cut out Storm at the end of this film. No, only Xavier and Kurt and Cyclops, only do those people. Nah, F that. I wonder why Mystique said the line that she said. Should probably call this X-Women. Whatever. At the end of the day, whatever she says, I guess it doesn't matter because we ruin X-Men Days of Future Past really good in this movie. So yeah, we get all the astronauts, and Phoenix is questionably dead, but you wouldn't know because no one in this Quinjet, not even Cyclops, who should probably be saying, we just saw that blow up. Is she dead? Is she dead? No one cares about if she could quite possibly be dead or not. No one gives a rip if she's probably dead. Luckily enough, Phoenix gets teleported by Nightcrawler, and nobody has an acting bone in their body. And, and it's like, oh, great! She's alive! Or that's what they should have said. Because when Phoenix opens her eyes and is like, hey guys, did we all live? No one's high-fiving. Nothing. Everybody's just like, can we get to the next scene, please? Can we please get to the next scene? So let's get to that next scene. So, evidently, the Phoenix has a past. Who would have thunk? Because I skipped over this, so let's go back over it. The beginning of this movie has Phoenix. I mean Jean, because I'd rather call her Phoenix because I've heard Jean too much today. Jean is in a car with her parents. Who would have thought? And the radio goes on, and everybody's headbanging to music. Not really headbanging, but they're listening to the music, they're getting their groove on. And Phoenix is just like, you know what? Can you change the music? And the mom goes, you know what? I really like this music, kind of something like that, or whatever garbage. And you know what? The radio starts going haywire. Where the radio starts going haywire. And instead of chalking it up to a car malfunction, right away, mom looks at kid and says, "Kid, are you doing this? This car malfunction? That I could just chalk it up as a car malfunction with this radio? Like, yeah, there's something wrong with the radio. But hey, is this kid is just kind of like going weird, whatever." If they would have had a scene before this, kind of montaging the life of Jean, to where she's using her powers around her parents a lot more than just this one scene, then they could chalk it up as Jean's having superpowers. And also, like, I'm getting really, really scared of Jean. And this might be the last straw. This car ride might be the last straw. Because Jean kills her mother by making her take a little nap. But cue Xavier meeting Jean for the first time, because unlike the X-Men The Last Stand, where Patrick, I mean Xavier and Magneto both meet Jean for the first time, Magneto is no longer in sight because at the end of the day, he was an X-Men for 20 seconds, but then he's like, "No, I don't want to do anything with you," even though we'll team up every once in a while. We're not going to actually team up to legitimately meet Jean for the first time, which we did in the other film, because who cares? Because Magneto doesn't care about this mutantish life, even though he's having a little soiree with a bunch of mutants somewhere else. Moving on. Basically, Xavier has to re-explain to Jean what it's like being a mutant. As if we as an audience have never heard this before. That this person has a gift. And what are they going to use this gift for? Kind of stretching this movie a little bit more. But I guess this was an interesting way of explaining being a mutant. But this is, to be brutally honest, a little lost on me because this movie is not that great for what's to come. Cue Jean never going back home again and just kind of just hunkering it down at the Xavier Mansion, never going back for her favorite pair of jeans or her favorite pair of jean shorts or jean hats, because they said jean too much in this movie, that I figured that she would have a lot of jean stuff. Maybe the number of times they were like hoping that Jean would wear a pair of jeans so they can say jeans more or Jean more. Anyways, cue the beginning of Jean, because that's all that matters in this movie is Jean Grey, which she never even gets a code name in this movie. Never. So we get to after the whole space exploration and all that garbity gook. X-Men are back all in the mansion, just chillaxing. And Xavier starts to read Jean's mind while she's sleeping, kind of seeing her dreams and such, because a medical exam couldn't do. And it's really great that that Storm is really reduced to being a ice maker at a party. When the kids go out and have a party because they've earned it for some bizarre reason, because they saved space people, and and uh, and Hank and Mystique have to look at them fondly and be like, "Man, I wish we can get a real role in this movie." I guess that's too little, too late. I guess. So going back to eventually when Xavier has to invade Jean's mind because he put psychic blocks in Jean's mind again that he swore he wouldn't do in the other films because he said, "I'm not going to control you." If anything, he kind of said that he was going to kind of maybe like help her figure out this power, but instead, I guess he was so lazy um, because he was counting the days before he had to retire. He was counting the days that he had to retire. He's like, "Fuck it, like I'm gonna go and I'm just gonna start putting those psychic blocks in Gene's head. I'm tired of this. I'm gonna put in those psychic blocks and then retire. I'm outie. I'm outie." Uh Great. It's awesome. It's delicious. Even though he swore before that he was never gonna control Jean, but now he's gonna control her, put those psychic blocks in, and cage the beast again. And you wonder why this has happened twice now, even though he mind melded with Hugh Jackman and then eventually met his future self and found out what happened, every single thing with his future self. And he never changed one thing. He never changed one little thing from his future people coming down to him and telling him exactly what happens, because none of these past films gives a crap about this one now and what have you. So because Hugh Jackman's not in this movie. Anyways, Jean leaves and runs away because she now figures out that Xavier has been hiding a little secret from her, that she thought that both of her parents were dead in the car crash, but that's not true. The father's still alive, but wants nothing to do with her and hates and fears her. But you know what? If Jean comes a knocking, the dad just lets her come on in. Come on in. Yeah. Could you uh your shoes are a little muddy. Can you wipe them off and then I hope you don't kill me or send an alien race after me. That would be great. But I'm going to tell you how your mom died. And I'm gonna rechange my whole life. I'm gonna keep the exact same house and the exact same address, and everything's gonna be the same from when you left. So you should have figured out where I was. Maybe you should have went back to the same home that you were before, but you didn't at all. And you could have came knocking on my door much sooner and said, "Hey, you're still alive, buddy," because you didn't change any location. You didn't go to a different home, different nothing, and you have a new life without me. But hey, that's okay because I might think about killing some people. Yeah, the X-Men now back in X-Men gear for the second time this film. but that'll be the last time that they garner this attire because street clothes are cool. Street clothes are cool, folks. Street clothes are cool. They all jump into the Quinjet, don't say any code names, and go to Jean's house because it's cool. It's really cool, folks. So X-Men goes into town and in a Quinjet to Jean's home. Bizarrely, because who does stealth things anymore? Even though this Quinjet could camouflage itself, and then these people could wear street clothes, and there's a lot of holes here. But anyways, remember when I said that somebody gets hurt and then completely vanishes off the face of the screen for the rest of the movie? That's coming up, folks. That's coming up, folks. Anyways, Jean comes out of the house, and she's all sad because she found out that she killed her mother, that her dad is hating and fearing on her right now. But she doesn't actually kill him off for some bizarre reason. She lets him live with the hating and fearing of her. Because he just lets her in the home, so that means, oh, Dad, you got brownie points, so I won't kill you. But I am going to go, and I am going to talk to my old friends called the X-Men. And I don't know if I'm going to let all of those people live. I don't know, I'm not sure. Let me check my pocketbook if I should do so. We go out, and Phoenix honestly just isn't having any. She's looking at all the X-Men, and it's like, any, mini, miny, mo, dead. Everybody's trying to reason with her. Everyone's trying to talk to her, and nothing matters what these people say in this scene. But bizarrely, Hank has this weapon that can take down mutants because he's that kind of guy. And then the cops get involved, and Phoenix isn't having any of that because she's like, I hate humans, go away. And so everybody has to start acting fast, because Hank has his mutant gun, and Xavier's like, not today, Hank, not today. Let's give Raven, Mystique, some time, because she needs to actually have a monologue in this movie, or she needs to have a legitimate, actual, a certain number of lines. So let her have that. And Hank's just like, okay, I guess I can hear what you're saying because I'm frozen. So Mystique goes in there to reason with Phoenix, and remember when I said Phoenix is doing that eeny, meeny, miny, mo? Well, the problem is that Mystique hit that eeny, meeny, miny, mo. She hit Mo, Mystique, and killed her. Because you couldn't actually kill somebody that has no tie to the future, Hugh Jackman future of these films. Days of Future Past wiped from existence, even though you technically wiped it from existence inside that movie. But let's wipe it even further out of existence by killing Mystique, which they actually should have done in Days of Future Past, but they never did. But hey, once you get Phoenix on this roster, man, the future doesn't look so bleak. The future doesn't look so bleak once you got Phoenix on the roster. But I guess you have Phoenix, who could have had Could have cleared up all this Phoenix stuff and just been Jean again, and then which would have made sense to tie into the other films where she's back to just normal Jean, and then when she gets that hiccup of Phoenix again, it's like, oh, okay, well we can justify all this now to carry on to future X-Men films, but heaven forbid you do that. Let's kill off Mystique and F everything else up. F everything. Which again, Phoenix does not get a tombstone when she gets buried. What a disgraceful way of treating one of your friends, supposedly. Who knows if she was a friend? Maybe she was a brotherhood for 2 seconds, so I don't know if she was a friend. Maybe Mystique, maybe Magneto should have been probably called to her funeral. It probably would have saved a lot of time, which happens later on in this film. Anyways, we get Quicksilver, who kind of tries to bizarrely think that he can take out Phoenix, because if several other people can't, that are probably as powerful as he is, what chance does he have? But he can stop time, right, and try to do something. He ends up getting knocked out by Phoenix, and after that, gets carted away, and you never see him for the rest of this film. You never see him for the rest of this film, and I want to question why. I want to question why. Was because he was probably saying, well, yeah, I'm the real actor in this movie. Everybody else, F all them people. So maybe he got kicked out. I don't know. I don't know why Mystique was bizarrely kicked out, because she should have been saved in this movie. Maybe because of the comments that she had earlier before. That was really a big whoa moment in this movie. That I'm like, wow, okay. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Anyways, we get to the point where fighty, and these people have had a little bit of fight, and Mystique is now dead. Cue them only caring about what is going on with Mystique, and Phoenix is just going like, I'm outie, I'm out of here, and she finds Magneto, which we'll get to that in a little bit, because we have to care about Mystique's death, because the X-Men don't, by giving her not a tombstone at all. So Hank is talking to Mystique right before she kicks the bucket, and at a time where everyone is absolutely silent because they're in awe about Phoenix getting killed, or not Phoenix getting killed, Mystique getting killed. I wish Phoenix would actually have lived through this whole film, because she's the biggest star in this film for some bizarre reason. Anyways, Mystique dies. Phoenix lives on to wear another pair of jeans. And Hank is with Mystique, holding her before she dies. And she's saying all this stuff. And Beast is consistently saying, what? Who? What is she saying? Huh? Who? Nobody's saying a word on this entire planet. But he's just like, hey, who? What is it? Him? Her? Hi? Because no one can act in this film at all. No one can act. Not a bone in these actors' body can act like anyone can. And Mystique is telling Hank that she loves him. I love you, and this and this and this. But Hank is like, who? Him? What? What is she saying? What? I don't give a crap what she's saying. Is she saying that we should really be called the X-Women? Is she saying that she loves Charles Xavier? I knew it, that Bass Fisher. I'm gonna go and and really get into his craw later on, and grow some huge cojones, some huge grapefruits, and confront him and yell at him when he's telling me his story. He's telling me a story. So we're catering off all the people that you'll never see again in this movie on the X-Men side. And while they're doing that, Phoenix is getting to Magneto because the most secret place that Magneto can find could be found by anyone ever. And oh, am I going to bring up some interesting things when we get to this? But let's get to the Hank Xavier exchange. Mystique, again, she gets a grave, dirt grave, no tombstone, and a ceremony. And then Hank and Xavier are chilling. I can't stress this enough. In the Xavier School for the Gifted. School. So, this school has Hank and Xavier, and they're talking. And Xavier has a bottle of alcohol in this school. If I can remember, in X2 X-Men United, Wolverine was looking for alcohol in a school. And he looks to Bobby, Iceman, and he says, "Hey, you guys got any beer?" And Bobby goes, "Of course not. This is a school. The only thing we have here is pop or soda or whatever the heck Wolverine ended up drinking." But Q, Xavier busting out the alcohol to talk to Hank because he's at this point Xavier is just coming up with anything to talk to Hank about so Hank can yell at Xavier. Almost like he's kind of goading him out. You know what? I met Raven in this room. It was the first time I ever met her. First appearance of Mystique, #1. I met her. She was hungry. I might be very hungry after I drink all this all this alcohol in a school. And then Hank chimes in. You know what? There's no villain in this movie. There's no villain in this movie. There really isn't. There's no villain. But Hank has to make this comparison and this judgment and this whatever that Phoenix isn't a bad person. The alien race people that come into this movie aren't bad people. Magneto isn't a bad person. No one's a bad people. But hey, a guy named McAvoy, he's the real true villain in this movie. Oh, I'm sorry, Xavier. Are we supposed to say our code names now? Are we supposed to say our code names now? Xavier. Sorry, I broke the seventh wall there. I'm sorry. Maybe the budget for this movie will increase because I broke a wall. So Xavier in Hank's eyes is the bad guy. So he goes off and tra la la on to meet Magneto. Because nobody picked up a phone in the Xavier mansion to let Magneto know that Mystique was dead. Xavier didn't go into Cerebro, which he should have probably done through this entire film instead of being a burden and having people literally being carrying him through scenes. Literally carrying him through scenes. But there's nothing wrong with a handicapped person being a part of this thing, but it's just he was never a person that should have been in the field, but I like that he was added in a bizarre way because the way they shot this made it look very effing confusing and bizarre. When they actually legitimately get to an actual fight scene that Xavier is supposedly in. But who knows who is in anything because this fight scene is so freaking all over the goddamn place. So, anyways, we get to a point to where Hank's like, yeah, worst villain in this story, even though there's no villain in this story, is you. And so he goes and he leaves. And then we get to a point where now we're going to go into the Magneto stuff finally for the first time in a billion years. Because Xavier, or why do I want to confuse Magneto and Xavier together because they're basically the same person. Anyways, Magneto is in a hangout that is so secluded, nobody knows where it is. Not even the government that should be after him for killing a president in a prior film. The government has absolutely no clue where Magneto is to go after him for a president that he killed in a previous movie. And they don't even go after Magneto at all in this film. They go after this person named Jean, who they barely know is doing anything. But cue in that Xavier trying to talk to the president bat phone. Hey, president, how's it hanging? Can I go into this banquet and kind of glad hand and say, man, it's great that you guys aren't treating us like freaks and you're hating and fearing us. Man, if only I could remember what you guys said to us before about hating and fearing us. But now it's all thumbs up, right? Not so much. Probably about another 10 seconds into the film, all of a sudden all the humans start hating and fearing all the mutants again because it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Which is great, it's Tuesday, but I don't know about the mutants. Like it feels kind of horrible for them. But I guess who cares? Because I'm a human, so I guess it doesn't matter. Anyways, Magneto has a hangout, and Jean has blood on her shirt, and Xavier or Magneto wants to play 20 questions with Jean, and she sucks at this game. Jean, how are the X-Men doing? Jean, how's life? Jean, I see that there's some red on your shirt. Could you explain that to me? Is that blood? Whose blood is it, Jean? Jean, what is your favorite kind of jeans? I want to know. I just found this thing called eBay. I want to know. They said they overnight it. They said they'd overnight things. Could you believe that, Gene? I hope the government overnights their service over here to come after me because I killed the president before and try to kill a president again. But everything is a-okay with that. But they're gonna come after you. So I'm gonna try to keep you secretly under wraps because I don't like humans, just like you do. But we're on different sides of the coin. You know what I'm saying? And then cue the government dropping in on the bad guys and not really having a problem with the bad guys, but having a problem with this person named Gene that they barely knew anything about. Anyways, because evidently the government was just like, hey, there's a plane that landed in this place, and some people might have gotten beaten up and whatever. So, if anything, let's go into this house and ask this guy, like, hey, what happened? And then the alien race is gonna start coming in and sucking the life out of him, trying to get some information. But the scene with that actually happening is cut really quickly. Bizarrely enough, because you don't want to show anything that these aliens actually do in this movie, because it won't make any sense, and no one cares about this alien race in this movie. And there's parts of the movie that actually should have been said in English, but instead is said in some alien, bizarrish language that no one cares about. So moving on. Going back into Magneto Town, helicopter comes down with human people and is looking for Jean. And you know what? Magneto's not giving any answers. He really wants to play 20 questions, but this human guy isn't having any of it. So Jean just kind of just pushes away with her power this helicopter, and Magneto is trying to, for the first time in forever, be nice to the humans and let them kind of escape. So he plays a tug of war with Jean because he couldn't play the 20 questions game. So now he figures that he wants to play tug of war with Jean now, because all of a sudden he miraculously starts caring about the humans for some bizarre reason. Maybe because he's afraid that they'll get back to him and actually want to come after him for that president's death from before. That they should have actually come back with him to try to get him and whatever, but they didn't. Anyways, we get to a point now. How long have I even been recording for? Whoops. An hour. Okay. Um so yeah. We are having this tug of war match between Phoenix and Xavier. Or Phoenix and Magneto. Why do I keep saying Xavier? We are having a tug of war match with a helicopter between Phoenix and Magneto. And Magneto is losing. So you would think, with him realizing her power set, he would, like a chess player, would assess this and adjust strategies later on in the film. But whoever actually thinks in this movie, like anybody. Anyways, moving on. We end up to where, after this whole helicopter debacle, um, Magneto basically banishes Phoenix without ever Phoenix telling Magneto, "Hey, best friend's dead." Hey, did you get a call from Xavier? Maybe you should check in with those X-Men people. Maybe they have a grave that you know that might be familiar to you. So, cue Hank coming on down to the Magneto lair, because everybody knows where this guy is. Everybody in the world knows where Magneto is. But they aren't going to come back and come after him for that president's death. Oh no, who cares about that? And Phoenix is going, and she is going to meet with some alien race people, because it's a really good time to meet with these alien race people and figure out what is the actual point of this movie, which there still is none. While it's going on, Magneto is meeting Hank and telling Magneto, Hank is going to tell you, Magneto, that one of your friends is dead. Who do you think it is? Let's play 20 questions, Magneto. I want to play 20 questions. And also, I just want to be a part of your brotherhood. Because I don't like Xavier right now. He's not a cool dude. He's not as cool as I thought he would be. And I know I die in the future. I wonder why. Probably because I'm hanging with Magneto. Or hanging with Xavier instead of Magneto. So I keep getting those names freaking confused. Anyways, Hank busts out the news that Raven is dead, that Mystique is dead. And still, no one can act in this movie. No one can really feel heartbroken that anybody could possibly be dead, or anybody could react that this person is actually dead and have some kind of crying or sad moment or anything like that, because no one can act in this film. And a lot of people can look constipated as they're shifting around a helicopter because it's fun. So Magneto is just like, I'm gonna go after Phoenix and kill her because yeah, that helicopter tug of war could really tell you that you're gonna have a good job at that. So we have Magneto who puts on his supervillain suit of armor. I mean a helmet, just a helmet, and goes after Phoenix because we have to finally get some more of that alien race crap going on, but not really because we're gonna have a fight between X-Men and the Brotherhood or whatever that group isn't calling themselves, with Beast on the Brotherhood side. So, anyways, we are going along and Xavier is in Cerebro trying to talk to Jean, trying to say, hey Jean, I also too found this thing called Amazon, and I would like to know what's your favorite jeans. I'm gonna get an overnight thing. Could you believe it? It's overnight. Could you believe that this Amazon thing ships jeans overnight? Could you believe it? And Jean wants nothing to do with Xavier, and he gets a nosebleed because of how much she wants nothing to do with him. Cue him should have stayed in Cerebro all along, but instead, he wants to get whoever is conscious enough to join with them to fight the Brotherhood, and maybe meet an alien race or two. I don't know, because that point it's not really clear who these things actually are, and there never is a really clear thing about this alien race, even when you see them at the further part of the movie. So we have to have the Brotherhood coming in there first, coming in there hot, and they're hot, and they're like, man, all we have is this Magneto helmet. Man, this sucks. Why can't we actually have cool costume gear? And Magneto reminds them that this movie budget is small, and so they're just like, well, how about we just go after this Phoenix girl? She's in this hotel that we miraculously knew easily and quickly, and hopefully there's not an alien race that is gonna try and suck the life out of Jean because she's a bad guy now, but who knows? Just like who knows who is the actual villain in this movie? I have no clue who the villain is. Still in this movie, even though they presented an alien race that we don't know if that's an actual villain or not because they don't have enough screen time yet. Anyways, we have Charles and its ragtag group of people. But the funny thing is, before we get that, we have to have a powwow with the X-Men, where Xavier's like, I'm not like talking as the X-Men. I'm talking to you as the people. Whether they are the X-Men or not, there's still people that are heroes. They're trying to do the right thing. Seems stupid and bizarre you even have to mention that, but it's mentioned. And Storm is just like, hey, I want to be in what's going on. And like Storm and Xavier's just like, no, Storm, how about you just like sit at home because we don't want to have a much more CGI budget for this movie. And your CGI stuff is stupid, so why don't you stay at home because you suck? And Storm's like, no, I really want to be a part of this movie. And Xavier's like, or Cyclops is just like, no, like I don't think she should be a part of this. It should be just you and me and Cujo, the CGI dog, named Nightcrawler. Maybe he actually had a code name in the snow. Oh wait, his name was Kurt. Dang it! Nobody has a code name in this movie. I forgot. Anyways, we have it to where everybody knows where everyone is in the world, and because Storm was just like, I want to be a part of this, so they had to milk so many scenes out just with everybody just saying, hey, shouldn't we do this? Yeah, we should do this. Do you think we should do this? Yeah, I think we should go and get that person. I don't know if I can go and get that person. Blah, blah, blah. Like, the astronaut that was left on the spaceship, they had to take so freaking long to decide to get that guy or not. And it was just milking out time. Hence, like, questioning whether Storm should be involved in this or not. She probably should, because she's legitimately the strongest X-Men, besides, ooh, gee, I don't know, Phoenix, that isn't on their side anymore, or Cyclops, that is just a phase away from, and what kind of stupid thing did they have to where Cyclops in the Quinjet, in that whole astronaut thing, he had to go down in the Quinjet and use some, like, weapon thing and shoot out his eyes. Like, what was that? Just some kind of like toy thing that they were gonna push out to people? Hey guys, buy the Quinjet, and you get Cyclops' little shoot there that shoots out the laser eye-ish things or whatever. Yeah, get that as a toy, which no one would ever buy. One thing that I want to make abundantly clear, if I didn't before, uh, before we get into this fight scene, before we get into more story, when you look at every one of these movies, if I didn't make it clear before, in X-Men First Class, at the end of that, Magneto looked vastly different than he did in X-Men First Class. He had a certain bizarre looking design, which in the next movie gets drastically changed to a better looking design. And then we have X-Men Apocalypse, where Cyclops looks vastly different than he did in other films. And a lot of the times he actually has sunglasses in part of the films, and then he has a visor in some parts of the films. And then he has an interesting looking visor at the end of one film that kind of gets scrapped going into this film. And in this film, Cyclops has his visor on the entire movie. There is not one point where he has regular sunglasses on in this entire film. No wonder why nobody had code names in this movie, because one person had his costume on the entire film. But I guess at the end of the day, when you look at it, when okay, that was weird. When um, this movie had to where people were actually supposed to have costumes or not have costumes, it did not matter. Because evidently the clothing budget on this was, man, was it scarce. But anyways, we now go into the big, confusing, bizarrish, weird, whatever fight scene that I cannot make heads or tails out of. For some bizarre reason, Magneto needs to rip out uh, a light rail or a subway thing from out of the ground and try to block the X-Men from maybe trying to get into the place, but then he also crashes it through the hotel to try to get people from getting into this place, but ultimately it's all for naught because a guy who has a wheelchair could easily get into said place, so it's a waste of time. Um, but anyways, cue bizarre fight scene that has too much crap in it that you can't even understand or comprehend or understand. And it's not cool at all. Everything is cut so ridiculously quickly, you have no idea what's going on, and people are saying too many goddamn things. Kurt, Cyclops, do these cool things. Scott, don't say any code names for anybody. Let's go. And the Brotherhood is saying absolutely nothing to any one another, and they're just doing their havoc. They're wreaking their havoc. And if anything, these side goons that should have been Toad or Sabretooth, but who would actually want to actually legitimately see an actual X-Men or a Brotherhood character that actually makes sense in this movie? Why not just get some random person? Because who cares? Evidently. So random people who are randomly put in here for some bizarre reason, helping out Magneto, uh, which was cool because their characters don't matter. We have them fight this good fight, ending up Magneto is going to go into this hotel to say hello to Phoenix because he really hated that she didn't like wanting to play his 20 questions game. And he's still griping on that. So he's griping. So we have this bizarrish fight that makes no sense. You have no clue what's going on, and to even describe it to you would be a waste of time. So yeah, we get to where Xavier's first one in, talking to Phoenix and the bizarre alien person, and Magneto learned absolutely nothing from the helicopter tug of war, which he lost realistically. Um, so he goes and he meets Phoenix. He says, "Yeah, you killed my friend," kind of thing. "I want revenge." But instead of going about this revenge thing and a sneaky way to kind of realize that Phoenix is uberly powerful, he basically goes and does this attack so ridiculously slow and right in her face that Phoenix like is just kind of like whatever and just kind of like waves the attack off, gets Magneto, and actually does some damage to him with his head, crushing him with his helmet, because she can do his powers better than he can. And then goodbye, Magneto. Hopefully, you don't end up like your son did, that vanished at the end of this thing. You know what would have been better for them to actually kill Quicksilver in this film? You could have had it in the beginning of this film that Quicksilver goes to Magneto and says, "Hey, I'm your son," because that was never done in the other films. Finally saying, "Hey, son, father," they hug it out. And that's why Magneto has been hiding out in this thing, because he finally found out he had a son, so he's trying to protect them. He's trying to protect him from this world. But every once in a while, Quicksilver runs out and does some X-Men things because he's friendly like that. If you would have killed Quicksilver in this film because he was gone anyways, that would have been the real legitimate reason for Magneto to go after um, Phoenix. And then also, that would explain why Quicksilver is not in the other X-Men films. For the longest time, I would have to justify why Quicksilver was dead because of the Avengers Age of Ultron movie. I would have to just say, oh, yeah, that's why you don't see him in any of the other X-Men films, because Avengers Age of Ultron, I guess. But, yeah. So, we had a scene where after Magneto's taken out, Kurt teleports Xavier into this hotel because Magneto thought that Kurt, or forgot that Kurt could do that kind of talent, and and now Xavier and Phoenix are talking, and they're just saying words that don't matter. And because this scene seems to have happened a billion times before by now, so Xavier, like, Phoenix is just kind of like playing with her food now. She's just like, "How about you walk?" And Xavier's like, "But I can't walk." It's like, "Oh, really?" And then he starts doing this walk up the stairs and this and that, and just to kind of ridicule him, and because he's handicapped, because that's always good to do in movies, to riddle a handicapped person. No, it's not. No, it's not. But let's do that. Anyways, she magically puts him up the stairs, and then there's a battle between Phoenix and this alien creature, because this alien creature, for some bizarre reason, now wants her power, because at any time she could have swooped in with her entire alien race and took the power of this person, or controlled this person, or killed this person. But Phoenix is having a change of heart, guys, so it's time to suck the life out of her now. Because you could have done this at any point and talked to her in length and said how she feels about things. Maybe you should have asked her, like, the 20 questions that Magneto was asking her before. And failed. Like, he failed twice to kill her. Or find out information. Anyways. We have this slugging match between these two space forces, I guess, because Phoenix was in space, the alien race was in space, and they're trying to suck the life out of her because they don't have a home anymore, because it's destroyed because of a spaceship. And Cyclops goes in there, blasts the alien away, doesn't double check to make sure she's dead, or that she's stupidly powerful. Anyways, gonna brush all this off, and no one cares. No one cares. So yeah, we get to a point to where the human race is popping in and popping all of these mutant people, anyone they can, and are trying to kind of collect all of them and put a power supremacist or power enabler on all, and with a necklace and headbands and stuff to stop them from using any powers, because that always works out all the times. But an alien race pops in on this train and wants the Phoenix because they are going all full out now, which they should have done in the beginning of this entire film. So now it becomes because the human race is completely wiped out on this train, and somehow the entire X-Men and Brotherhood and whoever get all free. Now it is going to be a fight for who can last the longest on this train. It's a little kids game that they quickly made up. Sadly enough, some of the Brotherhood people don't make it. It's sad. But at the end of the day, these alien race people are really durable. This Burry guys, they're really powerful. But don't let Magneto know that, because he's just gonna keep shooting them with guns, even though it doesn't work at all. But he's gonna keep trying anyways because he's Magneto. So we get to a point where all the human race people are killing all these aliens with guns and it's barely working. And so the mutants step in with their mutant powers of not really much, except for Storm, that is kind of taking some people out, but Beast needs to help her. So Magneto becomes a X-Men for 20 seconds and yells at Hank to help Storm. And then these people start taking these aliens out on this train, and it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. But it's a movie. Anyways, now we have Xavier again talking to Jean, because this Jean character is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and we have to give her more camera time. We have to give her too much camera time, because this is called the Dark Phoenix. It should have been called Jean Grey the Dark Phoenix instead of X-Men the Dark Phoenix. So Xavier is starting to mind meld with Jean Grey, and then Jean Grey decides that she's overpowered with all these power enabling necklaces and bandana things or headband things that are powering enabling her to not be able to use her powers, but she still does it anyways because she's too powerful, that these power enabler things just don't work. So she starts mind melding with Xavier in his mind, because her mind is too cool for school. And they have this conversation that really doesn't matter, but he's trying to reason with her because he doesn't want to lose a precious X-Men, because she has top billing in this movie. So if anything, with Jean consistently flip-flopping sides, she's like, yeah, all you X-Men people are my friends, because you're the only real true family I got, right? Even though I probably try to kill you at some points. Doesn't matter, you guys are my friends. So we get this psychedelic trip where Phoenix is taking all these trains and separating them, and now they're landing on this other environment for these trains to sit, and it's kind of a much more open area. And now Phoenix has to have it out with this alien race and take them out last stand style, with her basically Thanos dusting them away, because everybody likes to Thanos dust away right now. Even though she did it a lot in X-Men The Last Stand, because she's that powerful, folks. She's that powerful. If anything, if Phoenix could go up against the Infinity Gauntlet, who would win? I don't know. So we have to where we're wrapping this movie up, because man, is this movie a movie. And yeah, I've been talking about it for a very long time. And we get to where everybody's feeling good about their lives. and everybody's just like, hey, we're there looking at Phoenix doing all the work, and we're just sitting here because we're not the X-Men. This is the Jean Grey movie, so she has to do all the work. And then we get to where Jean has the last alien powerful girl, and she's gonna try to kill her. But in doing that, she might kill other people. So hey, let's do the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers plan, to where let's get Haley's Comet and have this alien race person get attacked by this Haley's Comet, and then we'll be good. No, that's not what really happens. We get the Iron Man plan of, hey, let's freeze up this girl like Ironmonger and then crack his head, and then he'll fall to the ground and die. No, that doesn't happen either, but it's basically the same exact freaking thing. She takes her up into space, and then they do whatever the heck they're doing, and then you have a Phoenix logo in the air. Because every time that Phoenix wins in these movies, there has to be a logo representing that she won and that she's cool. So everybody is happy that Phoenix might be dead. They didn't question it before, but now they're definitely not questioning it. They're just saying that, yeah, she's really dead, I guess. But let's not have a tombstone for her like we did Cyclops. That Cyclops, he just vanished. Let's just rename the school the Jean Grey School for Gifted Youngsters, because yeah, that never happened in any of the other films. Kind of like, still in this movie, Beast changes from human person to beast, still in this movie, and nobody questions that at all. Like, oh, is this just the way it's going in these movies now? Because why is it that Hank is still in this school and not working for the government, and just like, I'm out of here. I want to work for the government now instead of working for the Xavier School still, even though it has Jean's name in it. So again, Jean Grey is so good in this movie that they have to name a school after her, but Mystique doesn't even get a tombstone. It's too bad. It's really too bad. Mystique really just must have sucked in some other life. I don't know. But it is what it is. So we are now at the point where I am just baffled by this movie with all the changes that they're making. And so Magneto goes and has one last chess game in this franchise, because they never legitimately really play chess in this movie, and heaven forbid they actually start playing chess before this movie is over. And nothing what they are exchanging between Xavier and Magneto mean a goddamn thing. But Magneto mentions to Xavier, hey, I heard you're retiring because you never told me about Mystique being dead, but I found out you're retiring for some bizarre way. How about, hey, maybe I can be the new Xavier for all these gifted youngsters, because evidently you have just been counting the days of your retirement and don't want to give a crap about the education of the youth. You just want to bow out and frickin' just retire, I guess. If ever you really didn't give a crap about the youth of America, uh, or when he said before that he really felt a swell of pity for whoever came to that school, I guess he really doesn't give a crap about it now. So yeah, I don't know why I got so many phone calls during this one video. Uh, if anything, it doesn't matter. If anyways, if you guys want to try and call any of those numbers that popped up while I was doing this video, I'm not gonna edit it out. I'm not. If it did even show up on the screen, I'll have to look at it later, I guess, and have a good chuckle about it and not edit it out because I don't have that kind of time to do that. Anyways, I want to say that good riddance to this X-Men series because this series really just ticked me the F off with this film and everything that happened uh past Days of Future Past. And I didn't even like First Class at all. I didn't care about it. But good riddance to the series. I hope the reboot does something of me wanting to go and see these films again. But yeah, Magneto, Xavier are having one little last chess game together. And the only thing that matters is, hey, how about we play chess? Because you're retired and I'm here uh, trying to wrap up this movie. And I guess it should all end with you and me talking to one another because we started this thing at First Class. So yeah, after that, cue you looking up in the sky and you seeing a flaming thing in the sky that you could say is Phoenix. Because the last thing that you should possibly see a flaming thing in the sky saying that Phoenix is still alive because she's the most important thing in this movie. Heaven forbid you could kill her off and make it so that the X-Men are actually important for once in this movie. Would be great. But that's how this movie wraps up. There's no end credit scene. This movie is the stupidest superhero movie I've ever seen in my life. I kind of left this how I kind of left Justice League. And this movie is the worst Marvel movie I have ever seen. I thought Ant-Man and the Wasp was pretty bad. I thought that Spider-Man Far From Home was pretty bad. I thought that Captain Marvel was really, really bad. But Ant-Man and the Wasp was probably the worst for me. Cue this entire movie giving the middle finger to every Hugh Jackman X-Men movie out there. Basically saying, hey, we're going to change everything to F all this stuff that happens in the future movies because we might be all out of a job after this movie's done. So who cares? And yeah, and people are probably gonna like, could I please just get out of this movie because I've made X amount of money? Can I just leave now? Because I want to get killed off, or I want to get this, or I want to get that. Even though my character should live throughout this entire movie, yada yada yada. Because some characters should have actually lived. Because if they didn't live, then what was the point of Days of Future Past when you should have killed this person off well before her time? But no, that didn't happen then. But once you got a Phoenix on your X-Men roster, man, does that change? Man, does that change? Kind of like this whole movie changes the course of every X-Men film going forward. And I hope that no X-Men film ties into any of this stuff that has ever happened, ever in this franchise, and does something completely different altogether. Because I swear, if any of these people get recasted, any of these things are tied from what happened in this movie, I am freaking out. I am deuces. I am out of here for X-Men movies. Because that was stupid. That was stupid. That was the dumbest thing that they try to retcon and change so many things. I guess to just have a middle finger to all the Hugh Jackman movies that actually made Fox or Marvel or whoever money. Uh, and I don't care that it's like, well, they're going to reboot it anyways. Everything's going to be different, so all these changes don't matter. At the end of the day, I think the writers' room or whoever was really thinking of that, so like they didn't like they just threw that out there just to say, hey, X Men is a name right now, right? So I just want to make money off of this, whatever money that they actually legitimately made. And then maybe Marvel actually stepped in and was like, whoa, hey man, like we had to put our name on this, and this movie effing sucks. So maybe we're not going to actually release this and put it out to the world in a theater, but let's just shove it out in Blu ray and DVD. Funny how we have not yet seen the New Mutants, and probably never will. But X Men was okay to put out there, even though how horrible it was. And that was an okay movie to put out there. They could have stopped it at Apocalypse, but no. No, they didn't. They did this film. If anything, I hate to think that Quicksilver should have been killed twice, but it would have been a much more smarter way to work this story. A lot of this movie was didn't make sense at all. Things were put in here that kind of really destroyed a lot of the stuff from the other films, and you get a lot of bizarre choices like putting the X-Men in space, which was stupid. I don't care that, hey, the Phoenix was done somehow in space, even though technically Phoenix was inside the stuff all along and whatever. This was so stupid. So stupid. We had to have X-Men in space for some stupid reason, to have an alien race come down there and try to combat the Phoenix. Great choices. Great choices were made for this movie. And I hate this movie. This is probably going to be hands down the worst Marvel film. I don't know if it could possibly be the worst superhero film, but I want to say it's pretty dang close, maybe even worse than Justice League was. Just saying a lot. Because at least Justice League had some, compared to this, now fascinating things about it. And um, compared to Spider-Man: Far From Home, which I thought was bad, now I think is good because seeing this film, um, I still think that Ant-Man and the Wasp is probably a little bit tiny smidgen a bit better than this film, but it's basically the same exact freaking thing. Captain Marvel is still garbage, but it's a little less garbage than it was the day before. But it's still garbage. So yeah, this movie sucked. So yeah, I guess that's the real assessment. Is there's not much I can say. Talking about this film, how a lot of it did not make sense. Let me know in the comments below, because you guys have spent an hour and a half on this thing. If you saw any funny, goofy things in this movie, let me know how you felt about this movie. Let me know what the heck is going on with this film, and maybe I missed something that you caught, or maybe I caught something that you missed, or dot 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 dot. At the end of the day, I'm gonna say goodbye, everybody, because I gotta upload this. And I tried doing this before, but looking at the tape, I was just like, God, everything is wrong and or inconsistent or all over the place. But it's just kind of like they're not really being kids at the school, and then all of a sudden there's kids in the school, for a brief scene, but you barely have. It's kind of like Deadpool, where Deadpool has to mention that there's not really much kids in this mansion, and really that's clear when ever there's a mansion, or a school scene, a mansion, Xavier Mansion, school scene or whatever, where there's not a lot of students roaming around, like how you saw in God, what was it? Uh, Days of Future Past, where at the end of that, Hugh Jackman is like, "Hey, I'm in the mansion," and he's walking around the school, and you see Hank McCoy just, "Hey, hey, Hank." You see so many people just in the halls, and then Hugh Jackman meets Patrick Stewart and says, "Hey, I want to tell you some things, even though I don't really want to tell you some things." And Wolverine's just like, "Hey, I don't know some things. Tell me some things." Which they basically tried to recreate at the end of this movie when they changed the school to Jean Grey School. I guess once they heard, "Hey, this is a Jean Grey school. After that, I'm not going to that school. I'm not going to walk around in their hallways, make sense of this all. Who does that?" So, yeah, I'm going to say I'm going to be out of here because I'm a little tired and I got to upload this and whatever. This movie is garbage and nothing made sense. The Hugh Jackman movies are freaking awesome, and these movies tried to ruin all that. So I'm gonna get out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye. If anything, the one great thing was this alien race that was a Wikipedia thing that I had no clue who they were. If anything, at some points they felt like extremist people when they were in that train part of the train thing where the train got just torn apart and whatever. It was just garbage. So garbage. So garbage. So I want to garbage till we get out of here. If anything, I might have second thoughts and whatever coming back to this and talk about it some more because maybe I forgot some things or maybe I had some better things that I said in the first video. And this video is just kind of like me being very tired because I did this for a second time and whatever. Or maybe I forgot something or said something wrong or whatever. I apologize, but we get out of here. Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone.